What's up? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here and being subbed. If you're not, hit the button, and if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into this holy mess. Hey, what's going on, guys? Listen, let's just go ahead and get into the news. Let's get into the story. And it's a lot when it is surrounding TD Jakes and this Potter's House ministry, the family. I did a few commentaries talking about him stepping down, allegedly, and giving over ministry leadership to his youngest child, Sarah Jakes Roberts, and her husband, his son in law, Torrey Roberts. And I had some other commentary that I was going to be working on, but I don't do this full time. Life has been lifing for me this year, but I still have it in my list of to-dos. So trust me when I say I'm still going to get around to doing that commentary. But I wanted to talk about this story, and I've been meaning to talk about this actually now for almost 2 weeks. It's a lot when it is surrounding TD Jakes and the ministry and things that are going on. And while I am one of those people that was vocal when it came to the vlogger, like he likes to use the term, but he's nothing but an old, in my personal opinion, Pedialyte witch, Larry Reed, who interviewed a convicted SEX offender who claimed that he was offended by TD Jakes decades ago. I never said that he may not have had an experience, but I felt like it was ridiculous because the claims that he was claiming on that interview, in my personal opinion, were ridiculous. And two, he was actually convicted of doing real things to a person. And he claimed at that time on that interview that TD Jakes leaned in to kiss him that made him feel uncomfortable and called him while TD Jakes was soaking in a bubble bath. And I just felt like that was ridiculous because it's like, if we're going to compare, this is apples and oranges. And I'm not saying that it is okay for a man who's supposed to be the leader of a church and a bishop to be living a double life. If that is indeed what he was doing, I don't know if that was what he was doing, but that's definitely what that man was implying. But two, he was a convicted SCX offender that had just gotten released not long ago before doing that interview with Larry Reed. And Larry Reed has done multiple commentaries bashing other people. And there's so many claims out there about him. So for him to do an interview with someone to say when the either something like when the victimizer or when the victimizer becomes the victim or something like that, it's like, dude, you have all of these different people that are out here saying things about you. Now, nothing that he's claimed is out there about him. He says is true. I don't believe that to be the case. I also don't believe that all of these people that are claiming TD Jakes may have done something or some nefarious things have been going on behind the scenes with him. Doesn't mean that everything is a lie either. But I'm just saying, where there's smoke, a lot of times there's at least a small fire that's smoldering. It doesn't mean that it's a burning inferno. And in my personal opinion, the Potter's House ministry is not something that God ordained. It's a family business. And I don't believe that churches should be a business, especially in this way. Of course, they have expenses. Of course, churches have expenses. But to be this mega and you're passing it down to your youngest child, in my personal opinion, it's for the sake of optics and marketing because if you go to her Instagram and you compare her to his other children, this is what we've got. And it's like, well, she is definitely something to behold because a lot of people adore her. And it's true. There are so many women out there that follow this woman And if you just say something about her online that they don't agree with, that they don't like, they're ready to shred you into pieces. It's crazy. Several years ago, I did some commentary and it was just a news story. And I wasn't even bashing her. It was just a news story talking about a new home that she had purchased in Calabasas. It was news. It was actually in the news, and I wouldn't have known about it had not it been published in the news. And I had people in my comment section, don't touch God's anointed. I'm like, first of all, who the heck are you talking to? And who are you talking about? Because God's anointed or TD Jake's anointed. But I digress. This is the world that we live in, especially, it's something, especially about African Americans, Black people, where they have this aspiration of being super wealthy, that they somewhat idolize these people who have made it, to say, I'm not going to say anything that would be deemed as offensive or whatever about this person because I don't want to make anything that I could be able to gain in the future come to naught. People really believe that. I'm not going to say anything negative about this person because I don't want to destroy my blessings. A lot of people think like that. And it's like, no, no. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get into the story, guys, because as you can see on the picture here, you got Sarah Jakes Roberts and TD Jakes. And this had been coming for some time, but I believe it possibly got sped up a little bit in light of the allegations and the lawsuit that he filed. He filed the lawsuit. The guy, I do believe he tried to attempt to extort TD Jakes because it was put in the lawsuit that the guy that Larry Reed interviewed had his lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, send him a demand letter requesting $6 million. And first of all, I thought that was ridiculous. And all settlement demands are not extortion. So I want to be clear about that because it is a common practice in law for a potential plaintiff, by way of their attorney, to send a notice of intent to file suit to the defendant and requesting that, in order to keep things not just on the hush hush and on the quiet tip, but just to keep things out of the court system. Because most people don't want to deal with the courts. Most people don't want to deal with the courts, even if you have the right to do so. Like, for example, I have been in the middle of litigation for a little over 3 years now, or maybe a little over 2 years now. Yeah, because I was really hurt in a vehicle accident in 2021. My vehicle was totaled. I have been trying to get the defendants and their insurance company to settle, and they were being really ridiculous about it. And so I finally went with another attorney because the first one was trash. But I went to another attorney and they filed a lawsuit on my behalf. I still haven't received what is due to me yet. And my car was totaled. It's really an open and shut case, but they've been dragging it along. I don't want to go to court, but I really have no problem doing so if I have to, because I didn't do anything wrong. But they may be pushing me to the limit where I need to have my attorneys request a trial date so that we can go in front of a jury to compel them to go ahead and settle this case. But I just wanted to, say that even with me not being wrong, I don't want to go to court because it's a waste of time. And it's just, who wants to really deal with the courts anyway? So I'm just saying that is a common practice. It happens. But I digress. This guy, he already did the interview. He already put that information out there, and then he's going to come on the back end to have a letter sent requesting to settle this case for $6 million, or he's going to file a lawsuit. That was really ridiculous. So this dude right here, by way of his legal team, because let's be clear, the other guy, he has a lawyer, he has a legal team. His legal team filed a lawsuit against him, and I believe about 10 or 11 other co-conspirators were named. Not sure if any of those other people are going to be listed as defendants at some point in time. And a lot of people, and I agree, feel that Larry Reed was co-conspirator number one. So with all of that being said, It's a hot mess. There's a lot going on when it comes to this man. So around the time that he filed the lawsuit was when he had that alleged medical incident on the stage at the church, where he claims that he had I don't even remember what he said he had, but it was some medical episode, and he claims that he had to have surgery, and had he not gotten to the hospital when he did, he wouldn't be here anymore. Hey, that's what the doctors say. We don't know if that's the truth. And that's actually, we don't even know if that's what the doctors say. That's his word. And we have to go by that because it really isn't any of our business. HIPAA laws are there for a reason. Nobody should be contacting the hospital or the doctors up to say, hey, we want to know what really went on. People's health issues and business is really their personal business. So if they choose to share it, we just have to believe it or go with it at least. We may not even believe it, but we just go with it. So I'm saying all of that to say it's a lot of mess surrounding these people. And one of the reasons why I could never really get into TD Jakes, and if you see my intro, you see where he had Tyler Perry lay hands on him. That was when Tyler Perry gave his ministry $1 million. There is no way if one of the drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race came to his church dressed in drag, came up and said that they had a word from the Lord and they laid hands on. Do you think TD Jakes would have allowed one of those drag queens to do that? But no, it was because Tyler Perry had a check. It was because Tyler Perry had $1 million for the ministry. And so now he felt something and he's shaking and Tyler Perry's laying hands on him and he's having to have people hold him because he's falling backwards. And it's just ridiculous. And Sarita Jakes' wife, she's jumping up and down in the background. It's so fake. It's so fake. And that's one of the reasons why I have that in my intro. If you pay attention to my intro, there's a number of like ridiculous things that have happened in church history when it comes to some of these churches that we've heard of that I have of clips of in that intro. And that's why I had to put that in the intro. And I could never get into anything that he really has to say. I believe some things he says are motivational and they could definitely be applied to life and all of those different things. But did God call him? Is this a God-centered ministry? I believe this is something that they've built up to be so big that it's almost like when the US government bailed the banks out saying that they were too big to fail. I believe they built up this ministry so big where it's too big for them to see it fail. So by any means necessary, they have to keep it going. So if that means putting the youngest child in place so that she could keep it going. And hey, she's got the aesthetics, she's got the followers. I've already handed over the Woman Thou Art Loose conference to her. Now it's Woman Evolve. She's selling tickets like hotcakes. People are dancing the boots on the ground and they're having a great time and they love Sarah. And if they see people talking about her in some social media posts and they're going to drag people in the comment section and say, not too much on Sarah, the idolization of people is just unreal. But let's just go ahead and get into this story, guys. So it was reported a few weeks ago that TD Jakes' ex son in law claims he, meaning TD, SE actually abused him. Now, these are the claims. An attorney facing financial sanction for fabricated citations in his legal filings related to Pastor T.D. Jakes' defamation lawsuit now claims to represent the convicted ex-husband of Jakes' eldest daughter, Cora Jakes, and other unnamed males who he says have credible allegations against the Potter's House founder of grooming, SE actual assault, SEX ting. Now, that would be proof for sure. And transporting them across state lines. Richard Brandon Coleman, 36, also known by his stage name Ski Ventura, is serving time in a Texas prison for aggravated sexual assault of a child and indecency with a child. Cora Jakes announced her divorce from him in January 2022, shortly before his crimes became public after a decade of marriage and two adopted children, and that is questionable, but I'm just saying what the story's saying. Amari and Jason. Blackburn, who says he is now representing Coleman, made his latest claim in a filing in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania last Friday. It is part of an ongoing defamation lawsuit Jakes launched against former pastor Dwayne Youngblood, and 10 John Does in November 2024. While Blackburn is no longer serving as attorney for Youngblood, who claims he was sexually assaulted by Jakes decades ago as a teenager, his previous work on the case could face possible sanctions because he submitted fabricated quotations and misleading analysis of case law in his defense of Youngblood. And if you haven't heard those stories, yeah, there's a lot about that out there, and you can go and look up some of those stories. But Jake's high powered attorneys, plural, and I'm not even going to name all of their names, have asked U.S. District Judge William S. Stickman to award them some $71,400 in reasonable attorney's fees for the work they had to do in responding to Blackburn's filings. And I don't know. I mean, look, a workman is worthy of their hire, but some of these attorneys are just absolutely ridiculous when it comes to the fees that they charge. But I'm just saying, that's just a little side note. But in a SIR reply arguing against the awarding of the proposed attorney's fees, Blackburn contends that the attorneys and his colleagues are engaging in retaliatory abuse of the disciplinary system because of their awareness of a pending civil lawsuit he plans to file on behalf of Coleman and other unnamed alleged male victims, naming Jakes and his daughter, Cora. Plaintiff's counsel now appends to his SIR reply motion an email in which I asked whether he would waive sentence in a forthcoming civil suit involving plaintiff and his daughter, Cora Jakes. Now, I'm going to share my screen with you guys because I think it's important that you see Cora with her now ex husband because this is in the story. Okay? Cora Jakes, like her father, has been publicly accused of abusing children. Their church was a haven for immigrant children, yet the parents of several of these kids were deported. The children have been left behind, and upon information and belief, many of them are now missing, he further alleged. Cora Jakes, in particular, has been accused of manipulating a vulnerable friend. Whew, look at this picture. But anyway, who trusted her into giving Cora Jakes custody of their child and engaging in other forms of physical abuse of her adopted daughter. My inquiry regarding the waiver of sentence was fully within the bounds of professional correspondence, and Blackburn did not respond to a request for comment on the filing from the Christian Post on Monday. This is the ex husband. This is Cora. And listen, I'm not even one of those people who's like, somebody because of the way they look, that means that they are a certain type of way or they are of a certain persuasion, if you know what I mean. But let's be honest, look at him, especially in this picture right here, and also look at her. And I'm not saying that people who are not on this golden ratio, they used to call it, of beauty, that they don't deserve to be in a relationship and they don't deserve love, because beauty definitely is in the eye of the beholder. But let's be clear, he does look a certain type of way. Just saying. Shortly after her ex-husband's arrest was made public in 2022, Michelle Loud, a Texas hairstylist, identified herself in a tearful video as the biological mother of Cora Jakes' adopted son, Jason. In the video that is no longer available online. Listen, you can find it if you want to, and I talked about it before as well. She also was interviewed by multiple different YouTubers, especially she was interviewed by Tasha K. But she expressed concern for the safety of her son and accused Cora Jakes and her ex-husband of manipulating her into giving up her son while she was in a vulnerable state. Loud alleged, she played on my vulnerability. She had me in front of a effing MacBook recording and asking me questions, talking about it was counseling, but it wasn't counseling because later on down the line, a few years later, she would then use that evidence against me in court when I went to fight for my son. And that's terrible. And I talked about that before too. And so, listen, guys, my question regarding Cora Jakes, because Cora Jakes, if she did indeed take Michelle Loud's child under spiritual manipulation and using influence that her family had to be able to keep that child because she was not able to bear her own and give birth to her own children, because that's what Michelle Loud alleged. She said she can't have kids. She is sterile. She's barren, whatever the word was that she used. But either way, she claims she can't have kids. And if the stories are true, because the first child that she so-called adopted is, I believe, a Mexican. So if you look at her children, allegedly the church was used as a safe haven for immigrants, and a lot of those people have been deported. Now, and then it makes you wonder, okay, if these people have been deported, did they have something to do with it? I'm just asking questions. I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'm saying people have questions, and it does make people question. Did you use the systems to get these people deported so that you could keep that child? And then, did you use the vulnerabilities of someone that you claim was a friend and you thought, well, she already has a bunch of kids and she ain't got nothing anyway. I want a child. I'm helping her out with this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep this one for myself. I wouldn't doubt it. I'm saying it seems that way. I'm not saying that that is absolutely what happened, but I want to share a few videos with you guys because listen, this is a lot, and some people are going to right off of the rip say, oh, he's lying. He's already been convicted of touching a child. I'm going to be honest with you guys because the stories that I heard about this stuff back years ago when this was going on, and I don't know what really is true and I don't know what isn't. Of course, I don't because I wasn't there, but I have the right to my opinions and my speculation. If it's true that this powerhouse family has been able to use the court systems and use the systems other than the courts to be able to get their way, shut people up, quiet people, have their way, why wouldn't it be possible that the story about the ex son in law was fabricated as well to get him put away? I'm just saying, because it did make me think about that years ago. It doesn't mean because he was convicted, because there are so many people who are in prison that have been wrongfully convicted. I just saw a story the other day where a man who was in prison for 21 years was released for he was in prison for MURDER, and he was released because a woman actually came forward and said that she was the one who actually committed the crimes. It does happen, people, where people are in prison for crimes that they actually did not commit. And then it's possible that he may have committed the crimes, but it doesn't mean that he's lying about this, because that's another thing that they will play on. And they'll say, well, you can't believe anything that he says because he's a convicted felon. He touched children. And we know that those who abuse minors are some of the worst of the worst. So it's just, when you don't know, you don't know. But you have the right to have questions, and I have questions. So again, they're going to say, this is nothing to talk about. This is nothing to see. He's a convicted felon. Keep him behind bars. Cora's moved on. She found out what was happening and she decided to get rid of this man. But is it possible that some other things happened and they decided to get rid of this man, and by way of accusing him of doing things that he actually did not do? I'm just saying, it's possible. So if she got rid of that man, whether it was because he actually did do the things that he was accused of and convicted of doing, or some other things were going on, maybe he spoke up and said, look, your dad did some things to me, and now they decided, you know what? this can't get out there. We're going to go ahead and say that you touched some kids and get you locked up. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that happened. I'm asking questions and I'm giving scenarios and opinions. And I would love to know what you think in the comment section, because again, I don't know. But I'm just saying that there is so much mess that surrounds this family and this ministry. And for him to be a so-called bishop, if you read the Bible and it talks about what a bishop is supposed to be, it's a lot of things that make him sound like he is very unqualified to be a bishop. But again, this is his business. So who's going to tell him to not be a bishop and tell him that he has to step down? See, so when it comes to his business and his brand and his ministry, even though he has a so-called board, I mean, he's pretty much like, who gonna check me, boo? Because he created this. So I want to share a little bit of this video, guys, with you, because this is Cora Jakes proclaiming that she's looking for a new love. Like Jody Watley said years ago in that song, if you know, you know. But I'm going to share this with you guys because it's just something not sitting right with me about this. And I have some thoughts. And I would love to know what your thoughts are. So let's just go ahead and get into this right now.
I'm grateful to be here today. Honored. I give honor, of course, to my mother and father, for without them, there is no me.
And I want to pause it for a moment. This is by way of the Professor Blackmore YouTube channel. I've shared some of her videos before, and I will have the full video link in the description box so that you can go and check it out. And she looked just like her daddy.
The bishop.
No shade. The bishop.
And the first lady of this house. I give honor to my kumbaya and my sissy bear, the soon to be installed senior pastors.
So you look at the difference, right? You look at those two. And let's be clear. Now, money definitely helps a lot of people. There are a lot of rough looking people who have been able to gain and obtain a lot of money over the years. So their looks have definitely have been helped and have been enhanced. The wardrobe has been up leveled. The face is beat. They have been snatched. They have the lace fronts and all of that stuff, right? But if you remove all of that, Sarah Jakes is not a hard woman to look at. She's she looks decent. Cora, on the other hand, it's another story. I'm just being honest. And TD Jakes, y'all know that man was looking real rough back in the day, okay? Real rough. So money has definitely helped to enhance him, but he still looks like what he looks like. Let's just be honest. And you can let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section. But for him, because of the way the ministry has evolved over the years, woman evolve, he needs someone like this or these two to be the faces of the ministry because it's superficial. He can't have somebody that looks like Cora Jakes or his allegedly homosexual sons to run the ministry. I'm just being honest.
Of this church. Thank you for this opportunity. It means so much. I give honor to my babies, my co-bears, Tuga Bear and Riri Bear, sitting on the stage.
See, this is the allegedly immigrant child that she adopted. We don't know where the real parents are. And then this is Michael, who is Michelle Loud's youngest son, that Michelle claimed that she and another person in the entire family used their influence and spiritual manipulation to weaponize those things against her to keep her child. She did not want to give up her child. And before I continue, this is the other thing. It's like with so many children in the foster care system, so many children that actually are up for adoption, even all of the money that they have where she could have paid someone to be a surrogate for her so that she could have her own child. Why would you want to go through the length of taking someone else's child and then using someone in the church who, in my personal opinion, is a liar to tell that woman, Michelle Loud, that the child that she gave birth to was not hers, God gave her that child for her to give to Cora Jakes. That is some bullcrap. That is disgusting. And if you know, I don't care if it was 5 years later, if you have a heart, if you have the heart of a God-fearing woman, allegedly, why would you not want this woman to have her son? Why would you go through the heights and the depths and the lengths to keep her son away from her? But you have the love of God in you? You heard how this woman was crying out for her son, and then you're going to just dismiss it? I'm sorry. That alone, to me, I don't see how these people do it, but you know, a lot of these people are so brainwashed where they either chose not to listen to it and ignore it, or if they heard about it, they will bash and trash the woman, Michelle Lau, and they won't even question anything about the situation with Cora. It's foul.
Listen, y'all, the last time I was up here, I had a husband. Everybody take a deep breath. It's all right. Turned out all right. Turned out all right. Just wanted to get that out the way because, you know, that's the biggest part of it all.
She said the last time that she was up on that podium, she had a husband. Wasn't that divorce finalized in 2022? So they thought so less of her, and it was so scandalous that they could not get her up on the stage until late 2025. Think about that. She has such a stain on her name that just in-house, they could not have her up on the stage. Like, for real? Okay.
Like, she divorced, yeah, in real life. But I am single, though, also, for those who are watching online. You know, you want to take the opportunities that you have. Hubby, I know you're watching. I don't know who you are, but maybe you're watching. Maybe you're preaching. I don't know.
Hopefully she ain't trying to take nobody husband.
But I'm single. I'm out here. Come find me, huh? Money chase me, husband find me, huh? Come on here. Hallelujah.
Child. And enough of that. I just wanted to share that with you guys real quick because it's like the audacity and money chase me, husband find me. Okay. I guess she missing that good D. Let me stop. I'm just saying. But listen, guys, I really want to know what you think about that. And I have another video that I want to share with you guys because I'd rather somebody else say it and I'll chime in. So I'm going to share this other video with you because I actually was working on content about this and I haven't gotten around to getting back to doing it yet. But I already was talking about it. So when I heard somebody else say what I was thinking and what I was alluding to and what I was going to create content talking about when it comes to this ministry transfer, I was like, wow, I have to share this with you guys. Now, this video is courtesy of the Unction YouTube channel. I will have the full video link in the description box, but I want to share a little part of this video, and I'm starting from when he shares a little clip of Michelle Loud talking about Cora Jakes and how she used the court systems and their influence and spiritual manipulation and things like that to keep her son and lie to her, allegedly. And let's just go ahead and get into this because, yeah, we got to talk about it.
Was not there to help me.
This affluent thing here, this affluent woman found a young woman who was in need and took advantage of her and act like she was to be a friend and to be a help and almost like a godmother, but end up saying, you know, you don't have the means to really take care of this fourth child. She already the mother of three. Why she can't take care of her next child? You don't really have the means. Let me help you. God gave you that child for me. God gave you that child for me. And she worked this woman who did not have the same means as she had until she was able to get the child out from under her. Listen to this.
I didn't know how to deal with it. I just know that I was dealing with it. You know, and she took that and she prayed on my vulnerability to the point where she had me in front of a fucking MacBook recording and asking me questions, talking about it was counseling, but it wasn't counseling. Because later on down the line, a few years later, she would then use that evidence against me in court when I went to fight for my son.
And see, and this is what I've talked about before when it comes to Michelle Loud and Cora Jakes. If you so big and bad, if you got so much money and you got so much influence, why would you take a woman's son that actually said she wanted her son? Like, with all the children in this nation that need homes, why that one? Why that one? And then you so-called befriended this woman and you lied to her, but you're a godly woman. You're up on stage praying for a husband and child. Yeah, let's continue.
You want sympathy for the devil? Go get a Rolling Stone ticket. Cora, this woman of affluence and means, took a woman who was in need, worked her, and got her baby. Took a woman's baby from her. And y'all mad, but you hurt her feeling. Pastor Ray, how can you say that she's not marketable like Sarah? You hurt her feeling. No, her daddy made the decision that she's not marketable like Sarah, because he did not choose Sarah according to ability. He chose Sarah according to marketability.
And that's it. And that is what I had been saying, guys. This is business. This is not about God. This is their business. This is their dynasty. This is what this is. This has nothing to do with God. And because Sarah's more marketable, and we know that people are superficial and they love the optics and the aesthetics, especially when it comes to social media. Honestly, if TD Jakes was starting a ministry today that he was hoping to build into a mega ministry, and he looked like he did when he started, and social media existed, do you really believe that he would have amassed the following that he did? He got hooked up with the right people and got the right opportunities, but that dude was looking rough, you know? So, yeah. it's about the looks, it's about the optics, it's about the marketability, it's about the money.
Period. The girl can't read. She don't know what the Bible says. She said Eve crushed the serpent head. She's at her. Here is a convention of women to help them to evolve, and this is the best thing this child could think of. That girl can't think right. Sarah can't even think right. And you're going to try to build a whole brand around Sarah. It is because you felt Sarah was more marketable. That's it. That's it. That's her daddy. That's Cora daddy decided to do that. I didn't do that. Cora daddy decided to do that. And y'all looking at me talking about, oh, you hurt her feeling. I don't know what's wrong with us. I don't know what's wrong with us. Now, because the Bible says the strong should bear the infirmity of the weak. The scripture says, if eating bread causes my brother to offend, I won't eat bread as long as the world stands. So as far as me, I can curtail the way I say things. I can curtail the way I do things, because I understand that there are some people who will miss the entire message, miss the whole everything you said, because they're concentrating on one part. And you can't help everybody. You can't please everybody. But at the same time, I'm willing to bear the infirmity of the weak. I'm willing to. And Lord, forgive me if I failed to do that in my last video.
So, yeah. So if if you consider that this is not what TD Jakes felt comfortable leaving his ministry to, versus Sarah Jakes and Torrey, because one, we already know a lot of these churches, it's about the optics. That's why, unfortunately, you do have a lot of fake relationships, fake marriages. The man has some proclivities towards other women, other men, other people, but they have to have this marriage. That's one of the main reasons why Jamal Bryant married his wife. You know what I mean? He had been single for years. He still was doing his thing. That's what they said. But it's good for business for him to be married. Not because the Bible says so, but because the people say so, because it helps the brand, okay? Sarah don't have a husband. Not Sarah, I'm sorry, not Sarah. Cora. Sarah has a husband, Cora does not anymore. And the one that she did have, he's in jail right now alleging that her daddy right here touched him. It could possibly be true, and it may not be true. We don't know, but the allegations are there. And based upon studies and research and all of those things, guys, because I believe, if not all, most of TD Jakes' sons are homosexual or bisexual. Either way, they're in the LGBTQ community. And not saying they would want the ministry, but let's say they did want it. He couldn't pass it down to them because of that. And that just does not rock in the mainstream church world. Okay? So couldn't leave the church to the boys. So you leave it to the youngest child because she has the looks, the aesthetics, and she's married. This one had a jacked up marriage. Her life has been jacked up because of all the rumors about her mental health, about how she allegedly stole someone's child, possibly two, because there are stories surrounding the first one that she so-called adopted, who is Mexican. I'm just saying, there's so much drama that surrounds this family. It's worse than Greenleaf. It's worse. So I don't know. There's a lot when it comes to this family, but again, a lot of people are not going to give credibility to the story because of who the attorney is and who the client is. Because Tyrone Blackburn, he has had a lot of fishy issues surrounding him and his lawsuit litigation style and the way he works. And then, of course, Brandon Coleman, who is the alleged victim because of what he was alleged to have done and where he currently is right now. But we can't discount the allegations and everything that's surrounding this family as well. Everything may not be true, but it doesn't mean that everything is a lie. So with all of that being said, guys, I really want to know what you think. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll have the full video links to those 2 videos that I shared in the description as well. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.